Poor, even extremely poor, the unambiguous findings of the Meriam Report. An overwhelming majority of the Indians are poor, even extremely poor, and they are not adjusted to the economic and social system of the dominant white civilization. The Meriam Report, 1928. Dating all the way back to its establishment, the United States government has a record of failed, often deplorable, and ever-changing policies toward Native American communities. Beginning in 1830, this includes policies such as removal, assimilation, and termination. While the intentions of those policies can be argued, though it would be hard to argue they weren't aimed at the dismantling and annihilation of Native people and culture, the results cannot. American Indian policy has left Native people without access to the wealth and opportunity their white counterparts enjoy. Matter-of-factly, it has left Native peoples either poor or dead. These direct results of American Indian policy were made all too clear in a 1928 report titled The Problem with Indian Administration, more commonly known as the Meriam Report. Commissioned by the Institute for Government Research and authorized by the Secretary of the Interior, Hubert Work, the report was to be an economic and social study of Indian conditions. Louis Meriam, a statistician who did serious work for the Census Bureau, was appointed as technical director of the survey. In an effort to be unbiased, the project was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation rather than by any department of the government. In order to conduct the survey, Meriam selected a team of specialists, some of whom were Native American. They included the following: Ray A. Brown, Legal Aspects; Henry Rowe Cloud, Indian Advisor; Edward Everett Dale, Economic Conditions; Emma Duke, Indian Migration to Urban Areas; Dr. Herbert Edwards, Physician, Health; Fayette Avery McKenzie, Source Materials; Mary Louise Mark, Family Life; W. Carson Ryan, Jr., Education; William J. Spillman, Agriculture. The team, which often worked separately in order to acquire more data, spent its first 7 months visiting Native communities and reservations across the country. In total, they visited 95 locations in 22 states. They spent the next 2.5 years compiling the data into an 847-page report consisting of 8 major sections. Those sections included a general policy for Indian affairs, health, education, general economic conditions, family and community life and the activities of women, the migrated Indians, the legal aspects of the Indian problem, and the missionary activities among the Indians. The report was submitted to the Secretary of the Interior on February 21, 1928. Using facts and details, the report concluded that federal Indian policy had been a complete disaster in every aspect. They argued that the poverty seen on reservations was largely the result of the Allotment Act of 1887, which privatized Indian land. They pointed out that the land allotted to Native peoples was barren and inhospitable, calling it lands from which a trained and experienced white man could scarcely wrest a reasonable living. They called the system of Indian boarding schools grossly inadequate and argued that Indian education should no longer be segregated by the majority culture. They argued that Indian health was bad and that their hospitals and care systems were characterized as lacking in personnel, equipment, management, and design. Overall, the Meriam Report excoriated the government's Indian policy, but the report did lead to the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, which would reverse many assimilation policies and restore land and mineral rights back to the tribes. The report also led to other policy changes such as the drafting of tribal constitutions, the creation of Indian-run courts, and the strengthening of Indian police. Unfortunately, the report could not make up for the century-and-a-half of mistreatment that preceded it, nor prevent some of the detrimental policies that followed.